Welcome to the world of exploration. Welcome to the world of learning. Let's start exploring. Let's start learning. You have come to the right destination, that is English curriculum. And I am Sikriti Joshi, your guru. All right, so today we are gonna continue with the Shakespearean part, right? So we are gonna study about Shakespeare, right? So when we study about Shakespeare, this is going to be the third video, the third part of the introduction, right? I have released the second part. Now this is the third part of the introduction. Now, all right. So to estimate the complete contribution of Shakespeare to English literature and the literature of the world is a very difficult and a daunting task, right? Thousands of books have been written on Shakespeare by scholars from all over the world, and his plays have been translated into all the major languages, right? They're enacted everywhere, and the Russians even claim he was, he was a slave. Even even after 400 years, his fame is on the rise. In Julius Caesar, Brutus says, "How many times will the scene of ours be acted over in states unborn and essence yet unknown?" This is indeed, this indeed was a prophetic statement about his own case. Dryden stated that Shakespeare had a universal mind, and Ben Jonson said that Shakespeare was not of an age, but for all times. Indeed, Shakespeare's characters, a gallery of 800, are types of characters that have inhabited this planet throughout the human history. Shakespeare could enter into his characters and present them so vividly that they are a keyboard of emotions and expressions. The subtlest feelings are expressed in his plays, right? Plays, Plays, right? In his plays. No wonder we quote him the most after the Bible. So Bible is something that we worship, that we, you know, look up to. And this is something that comes after Bible. That means it's that important, right? Another aspect of his genius, that means he's so important. So that means that after Bible, Shakespeare comes into the picture, comes into the frame, right? So another aspect of his genius is that he excelled many of his contemporaries in whatever they invented. Thus, he took Marlowe's mighty line or the blank verse and made it a supple instrument for expressing many intense feelings. Ben Jonson described the humors of human moods in his plays. So there are humors also, right? In psychology, if you have studied psychology, or even if you haven't, you must be aware about the humors that we can have, right? There are different humors. There are categories. So Shakespeare bettered him in the description of greed, vice, folly, and folly means fool. Folly means mistake, to commit mistake, and virtue. Right. So many have expressed doubt about his claim to the authorship of 37 plays. 37. When I say 37, we did. You remember we did. I told you that he has written 30. That he has written 37 plays, right? So he has written 37 plays. But many writers have a doubt that whether he has written 37 plays or not, right? In just 20 years, because it seems impossible that in just 20 years, how can an individual write 37 plays? But that's, that can also be because of what I perceive of it is that it can be of out of jealousy also, because people are envious of other people's success. Nowadays also, and earlier also, it must have been the same scenario. Nowadays I have witnessed, whenever, if you achieve something, people start doubting that how come you have achieved, you have climbed that ladder of success. So he might have written 37 plays if it's mentioned, but some people doubt, have a doubt that in 20 years, how can a person write 37 plays, such great plays. Now, yet there is no cause for doubt here. After all, he borrowed the stories from Latin and Greek. After all, he borrowed the stories from Latin. This also we studied, and Greek, right? So we borrowed stories from Latin and Greek, right? Translations and enlivened them with his genius. So he enlivened with them with his genius, with his intellectual powers. Translations and yeah. So one of the sources of his Roman histories, like Julius Caesar, for example, was Plutarch's Lives of the Noble Romans, translated by North, right? Shakespeare undoubtedly had many demerits, but these are overwhelmed and eclipsed by his outstanding gifts. Shakespeare, not being educated more than a few years in grammar school, so he was not educated in more years in the grammar school, right? We have already spoken about this earlier in part one, right, of this lecture. We observed in part one of the introduction. So he observed nature and human behavior. So he observed, what he observed was nature and human behavior. So nature, he observed nature, and then he observed human behavior, right? So he observed nature and then he observed human behavior, right? Very keenly, and had rare intuition and imagination. And he had intuition and imagination. Yeah. So he was trained in the school of his life. So he was trained in the school of his life. School of life. He was trained in the school of his life, right? Um, his faults of grammar so prevalent in his plays, but because he was not he did not study much in grammar school, he left off because of the financial problems that we have already spoken about, in order to support his family, right? So we get to see that how, he made errors, he made grammatical errors. So his faults of grammar so prevalent in his plays are glossed off as poetic license. So it's he made a lot of errors, grammatical errors, but they're glossed off. That means they're covered with, a sort of that he has that poetic license with him, that he can make new words, he can create new words, right? New phrases. In fact, he created his own grammar, and in fact, he created his own grammar. So he created his own grammar without having been to a grammar school. He created his own grammar using nouns as adjectives. So he used nouns as adjectives, which is quite astonishing. He used nouns as adjectives, and he even invented syntax, right? These have become expressions so apt it is impossible to change or correct them without reducing the impact. What was Shakespeare's philosophy? Was he a Christian? Shakespeare's idea, as expressed through his noble characters, show universal virtue free from dogma and any religious domination. They are virtues in the human spirit. He was capable of seeing good in all the people out there. There's a soul of goodness in things evil. Distill it if we may. His advocacy of the cause of Shylock, the Jew, in the days when rank, you know, hatred existed for them among the Christians, so they used to hate Jews like anything, shows the truth of the above lines. It reinforces the view that Shylock was a man more sinned against than sinning. Portia's speech on mercy and forgiveness in The Merchant of Venice is one of the most beautiful passages of his plays. The quality of mercy is not strained, it droppeth like the gentle rain from above, the mightiest in the mightiest. The great range and variety of human behavior treated by Shakespeare gives his plays an everlasting interest. We may ascribe to the bard what he himself makes Enobarbus say of Cleopatra. Enobarbus, right? So Enobarbus says, um, Enobarbus say of Cleopatra, age cannot wither her, nor custom state her infinite variety, right? So for now, this lecture, um, on this note, I would like to say bye to you, right? On this lecture, on this note, I'll leave it up to you. Do revise, do give it a do give it a uh, do see this video and do revise whatever I've taught you, the content, right? All right, so I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye bye. This is Sukrita Joshi signing off. Bye bye.